world. One of the things that Dr. King, that I live by, is Dr. King says silence is a betrayal of our souls. And so I believe this activation, the continuation, is really to bring attention to issues that impact people's lives. And I'll make this quick. You know, I was a child when the March on Washington happened, but I was a child that was living in poverty. I was a child that was living in a space where at one point, you know, when the landowners got mad or you didn't do enough work, your family didn't do enough work, they would put you out, and they always put you out in the wintertime. And our family had to find ourselves living in a barn. I know what it means to use colored-only bathrooms. I know what it means as a black child to stand outside of the soda pop stand, so to say, to get a soda pop, and couldn't come in because I was black. I know what it means to have pages torn out of books that was given to us from the white schools. So, and all of these things still exist. They're undercover, and so I think as a pastor, as a prophetic voice in the community, is to continue to raise issues of injustices and inequality, and continue to bring attention to those issues on a larger scale, to make sure that we're really continuing the dream. And I think it's going to take all of us. It's going to take our young people. I'm inspired by a lot of young people that I've been working with, but also our elders. I mean, you know, we have some wisdom. We've been through this before. So I'm grateful tonight for actually this whole weekend of just us really activating ourselves so that we can continue to go forth and bring attention to these issues of injustice and oppression. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're grateful for you.
Let's give Dr. Linda Smith a special round of applause, just because of all of the extra work that was done for the Friday event. Y'all, the preaching was incredible. Those of you who were not there, I have an inside voice. No, I'm good. I think I'm good. So for those of you who were not there, we are creating a documentary. I've said that a few times. So that means I want each of your voices to be heard in some way tonight before you leave. We'll also have some slides up here. You'll see a QR code with a video survey. So be sure you take a glimpse, take a snapshot of that QR code, because what it allows you to do is answer the same questions that we're asking this panel and more. What does Dream Unfinished mean to you? What are you going to do to continue the dream? Why is it so important that we do this work together? All those questions, 6 simple questions, but you get to have your face and your voice as a part of this year-long journey. So we do expect and appreciate your activation. Sir, I'm going to ask you the same question. What does this theme, Dream Unfinished, what does that mean to you, and what are you going to do to continue the dream?
Well, my name is Carl Livingston, and I am the
Reverend Dr. Carl Livingston.
Thank you. I'm going to pay you when we get done. I'm the head political science professor up at Seattle Central College, where I've been 34 years, and I'm the senior pastor of Kingdom Christian Center. And I'm so glad to be here around such wonderful and amazing people. And I thank Dr. Lanisha for her leadership up here in North American, or the Northwest African American Museum, and Dr. Tracy, and all of you. I believe the dream is about ending discrimination, and it was about the fulfillment of development. And in fact, that's what Martin Luther King's speech was about. It wasn't just the I have a dream speech, it was the America has a debt, I have a dream speech. Yeah. And the first half of it was about the debt that America owes, which is the debt to end the discrimination and to help fulfill the restoration that needs to happen. Just look at this wonderful museum and the city of Seattle's African American community in the central area. It's wonderful to see such a beautiful building, this museum that was finished, that had to start first through struggle and through pressing for the establishment of this. Well, this is completed. We just need more of the county and the city to support it. But look at the central area. The central area needs the end of discrimination completely and restoration. we have lost much of the African American community. And so Seattle is becoming one of the whitest, if not the whitest city in the country.
Amen.
And especially with respect to African Americans. And I think that makes us all poorer. And I think we're richer when we work to push development and we work to restore the pain. If you just unchain the runner from the block, ending discrimination, but you don't advance the runner. Our own president from the South, Lyndon Baines Johnson, said that's just not right. And so we need full restoration. So what am I doing? I'm trying to support what the community is doing to continue this. But I'm also personally working to complete a work called the Playbook, How Southern Strategy Discrimination Affected My American Family. I want to support you, but I'm asking you to also support me because I want to pull the curtain back on the discrimination in place right now called the Southern Strategy. Thank goodness I'm going to get ready to stop, y'all. Angie Maxwell down in Arkansas, a white woman with her dean that wrote the book, The Long Southern Strategy, to describe the post-1970 discrimination has been in place. I'm pushing that book. I'm trying to launch some programs, but I want to support you too. We have to support each other to fully restore our community.
Go on, Dr. Livingston has to be introduced as part of the curriculum.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love that, man. I love everything I got.
I guess I'll go ahead and begin, since I know what the drill is, and it is always very difficult to follow the Reverend Dr. Livingston. My name is Sharon Tomiko Santos, and I am, I have the great privilege to serve as the representative for the 37th Legislative District, which includes the heart of the central area, the historic home of our African American community here in Seattle. I am especially privileged because I have the distinct, I suppose, characteristic of actually being raised in the district I represent. And I'm going to ask you to think about that for a moment, because over the last 25, 30, 40 years, one of the characteristics of America has been the increase in mobility, where we are able, and we do as Americans, move from city to city, state to state, oftentimes in pursuit of jobs. And so when you think about who represents us on the city council, on the county council, in the state legislature, in Congress, I think one of the questions we have to ask is certainly whether or not do they represent us in terms of our visions and our values, but do they understand us because they have the same sense of rootedness to the community as we do. So that is my great privilege, is to represent us in the state legislature on the House. When we think about, or when I think about the theme, Dream Unfinished, and what does it mean to me? It's a very, I think, deceptively simple question that hides a lot of nuance and complexity and layers. And so, on the one hand, I do want to pick up on what Reverend Dr. Livingston was just saying, is that the origin of the speech was a critique of America, a critique of our institutions. And so on one level, when we talk about the dream unfinished, it really is, for me, a question of where have we achieved the elements of the dream? And I would posit that while we have made progress, there's not a place where we can say, good job, we've got it done. We've got a lot yet to do. So that's us institutionally as a country and all of our representative institutions. But it also means for me personally, where are the areas that I can particularly contribute my energy and my focus and my interest? And for me, because I am the daughter of a preacher and the daughter of a public school teacher, it means that I want to focus in on the notion that each and every child in Washington State has intrinsic value and has intrinsic ability and has intrinsic aspiration and has intrinsic assets. And what we have is an educational system that very slowly but very surely and very deliberately undermines each one of those things so that you end up with children without hope. And it's been my mission to try and change the institutions so that we give the adults in the system the ability to recognize how they are complicit in tearing down the souls and tearing apart the dreams of our children. And I have a very vested interest in this. Some of you know that I am the widow of Bob Santos, one of the Gang of Four. And so as I transition into trying to answer the question of what am I going to do to continue the dream, one is remembering the lessons of the Gang of Four. They articulated by their actions, not by what just they said, but by their actions, that they were all for one and one for all. And that's what we need here in the city of Seattle and in the state of Washington, is that, and I think the Reverend Dr. King also said, I can't be all that I'm intended to be unless you, Mr. Mayor, are all that you are intended to be. And so, and the gang, I beg your pardon?
Who are the Gang of Four?
Oh, thank you, sorry. The Gang of Four, I make a presumption, I apologize. So the Gang of Four are representing the Asian American community was my husband, Bob Santos, the late Bob Santos. Representing the Latino community was the late Roberto Maestas.
Amen.
Representing the Native community was the late Bernie White Bear.
Amen.
And representing the African community, thank God we still have him living, is the Honorable Larry Gossett. And yes. And I think that's an important thing to applaud, because there is no place in this country where you will see a history, a long time history, spanning decades of four diverse communities coming together and working together for a common cause, and that is the equality of all persons and the dignity of, inherent dignity of our communities. And so working towards that vision of all for one and one for all is one way that I honor my husband and the Gang of Four, but it also honors my roots, because I told you I was raised here, and when I went to high school, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I am a proud Franklin Quaker. Oh. But when I was at school, and I think when you were at school, Mr. Mayor, my school was about a third black, about a third Asian, and it was a third white. And that is the way we rolled here in this community. And I can show you pictures and videos on Instagram and Facebook of my contemporaries still mixing it up that way. But the last way that I intend to continue to work towards the unfinished dream is that my family my immediate family. We just got together to remember my husband's 7th anniversary of his passing yesterday. My family looks like this community, looks like Mayor Harrell's community, looks like Eddie Rye's family, and I dare say looks like all of your families as well. So that is my commitment, and I'm sorry, I probably took way too long. I apologize.
That was excellent. So, guys, thank you. So, as you know, this is a panel and a community forum. So the next two voices after this gentleman here who needs to leave, we're going to swap him out for the mayor. But the next two voices needs to be community voices. So we got one. We're going to have you line up here, and then we're going to have the others in community who want your voice to be heard to line up at over there so that we can get you to the podium relatively quickly. This is about your voice as well. So we're going to start right here. Fred, thank you very much. Tell us who you are. Tell us why this is so important, that we focus not on just a dream unfinished, but really focus on continuing the dream. This is a commitment. This is a kickoff. This is not we just recognized the 60-year anniversary and we'll meet you back here next year. No. This is a community activation. This is about us looking at ourselves differently and realizing that we get to be a part of the change that we say we want to see. Now is the time for us to show up, activate, and truly drive change. Tell us, who are you and what are you going to do to continue the dream?
Test one. All right. Well, I'm Fred Fellman, one of your Port of Seattle commissioners. I've been at the port 7.5 years, and I'm sure you're going to be really excited when the mayor gets to take my seat. It's actually been a real honor to be able to be on this great panel with these folks. Eddie gave me all of 3 hours notice that I was going to come here, so I have plans, but no slight intended here. I've rarely much made this effort because it's very important to me to be able to share this experience. And Hayward, for you and Eddie to be colleagues of mine for this many years, I really appreciate it. I think we're all stronger for it, and I thank you very much. As far as I'm concerned, though, the dream, unfortunately, is going to remain unfinished for a long time because democracy is a participatory sport. We have to fight every day to keep it going. And so, but the other thing about dreams is that you have to be awake to make this dream alive. And it's our job to make sure that the rest of the world is awake, the ones that look like me, that have to be able to understand that this dream is not something you can sleep through. So I feel very committed that we have to elevate the public awareness that this is not something that we can just sweep under the rug. And to hear the stuff that we've heard today from this crazy man in Florida talking about banning books in schools and then saying he feels sorry about kids getting shot. It's just unbelievable that people can get away with this stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, we got to keep up the good fight. It's never going to be over. But what we do know is the way to get any sort of equity going is going to be a financial situation. And that's something I feel very committed that the port has a real role to do. There's 120,000 jobs associated with the port. We got 2,000 employees, but it's the benefit of it. And so to me, our job is to be conscious and thoughtful and directed about how we make that money available to the community. There is a lot of needs out there, and the problem is a lot of people don't know the opportunities that exist. So we've been trying our best to get outreach into the community, and we have Luis Navarro here. For you guys who don't know Luis. Yeah, and Luis has been doing the work for like 25 years at the port, and while we still got him, let's make sure we get full use of him, because the opportunities are only there if you know to take advantage of them. So I really feel committed that also going forward, we have a minority-majority commission right now. We have an evolving discussion going on at the port that is going to be really institutionalized going forward. And we have a whole office of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Luis was carrying the water for us for the longest time. It's now a fuller program, but we still have to make sure we have to get our own internal act together so we can interact with the community more authentically. And I think we're on our way. We have some great input on this new commission. I'm very proud to be part of it. and I'm running again to be part of it for another 4 years, and I really thanks for this opportunity, and please excuse me for having to leave, but I have folks flying into town that I'm missing right now. So thank you again, and I think the mayor can do a pretty good job of taking my place.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. So we will, thank you, Mayor. If you want to come on up, we will bring you over here. So this again is about community voice. I'm going to have you come right on over here, stand in front of the podium. And what this is about is each of you. So we want to hear from you. Y'all, there's no reason why I'm not seeing a bunch of y'all lined up, because each of you came here. I can see 20 people in this room right now that had something to say. So I really thank you very much. I look forward to each of you sharing your voice. So go ahead and tell us real quick, what does continuing the dream mean to you? Introduce yourself, Kevin, and tell us, what does continuing the dream mean to you?
Well, my name is Kevin Allen. I'm a community member, I'm a union member, and I work for the state of Washington. I'm a proud member of the Washington Federation of State Employees, Local 843, which are the people that give out DSHS benefits, and I'm also the vice president of the Coalition of Black Trade Unions. And I believe in image, impression, and impact. And that's why I wear this. I have image is a fashion statement. And today I wanted to come here because of the continuation of Dream Unfinished, wearing the shirt that says, "Stay woke and keep fighting." And that's what I plan on doing. Staying woke and keep fighting. One thing about this shirt that's related to today is that there's a lot of people on this shirt. A. Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, Maxine Waters, Danny Glover. There's all kinds of labor leaders, other activists. So what that tells me is that there's a place for everybody. Everybody has an opportunity to participate from the lane that you're in. And that's why it's important to me. And that's why we have not a commemoration, but a continuation. There's people who are no longer here. There are people who are presently active now. It's multi-generational because it's a continuation. The last speaker just mentioned about, he said, staying awake and waking up white people in particular. And else keeping our folk awake and not get disoriented with misinformation. But once you stay awake, then you have to keep fighting. And my intention is to keep fighting by engaging in the number of political and community organizations that there are. And there's a lot of them represented right here today in Cleveland. The Poor People's Campaign in the back. As well as, there's a place for working with legislators that we have here, religious leaders, community leaders. So we have a lot of opportunities to stay woke, and also to keep fighting. And so there's lots of opportunities for us to fight, and that's my intention, to keep on fighting till the end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was going to say, did you say
My eyes?
the three words you wanted to say? You want to
Yeah.
re-emphasize that real quick?
The
three words.
The three
Say
words are image, impression, and impact.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time, y'all. This is what continuing the dream is all about. You can boil it down to three words, what we can all do.
Image, impression that we leave, and the impact that we have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So real quick, I'm going to have the rest of the panel actually introduce themselves. Man who does not need any introduction, Mr. Eddie Wright. Can we give him a round of applause? Just tell us, Eddie, what does continuing the dream mean to you, and why was it so important that you amplify the message during the 60th anniversary of MLK's March on Washington?
To me, one of the things Dr. King mentioned was that our check has been returned to NSF. And black businesses in Washington State getting very little checks. We've had no affirmative action for 25 years in the state, so a lot of African-American-owned, family-owned businesses went under. You had a situation where you had 4 black contractors go broke on one contract, the Seattle Tunnel Project, and then a sham arbitration setting was set up that left them holding a bag and losing what they had. And when you see that in 2021, African-American-owned businesses did 0.18% with state contracts, and after the governor signed his executive order, January 2022, at the end of the year, African-American-owned businesses did 0.22% of the state's business. So we were walking down the street yesterday during the march, people saying, well, you know, where are the black people? The black people have been ran out of here for a long time. At one time, we wouldn't go 2 blocks, we would change the name of the street. We could go 3 blocks and have 300 or 400 black folks. And other people who were sympathetic to live in the community, primarily I come the Asian community because that's the community that was right with us. They were redlined in the area just like we were.
Amen.
So as far as I'm concerned, the unfinished business is making sure they fulfill Dr. King's quest to make that check good. And that check has to be about reparations. And the reparations just can't be a check. If you check history, which Ron DeSantis don't want you to know, him and Mr. Abbott in Texas, is that every time a black family was lynched, hung, they always burned down the whole black community, and they took the land. And time after, it's been documented, and time after time, when there was a black atrocity, the land was taken. So we can't honestly talk about reparations without talking about land. And to look at the fact that after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, there were 2,000 black men, women couldn't vote then, and white women couldn't vote until 1920, but 2,000 black men held political appointments and positions, sheriffs and parishes, senators from Louisiana, Secretary of State from South Carolina, and then all the racism kicked in back then like it's kicking in right now. After all this time with civil rights and voting rights, they're under attack, led by the beneficiary of affirmative action, Supreme Court Justice, give me the money, Clarence Tom Ash. So I'm going to continue because economic equity brings about changes in any community. It allows people a lot of social problems that we would not have if we had economic equity and economic justice. So that's my plan right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You know what I love most about Eddie Rice, he's very consistent.
Amen.
You were consistent, persistent, and resilient. So let's give him another round of applause. I know Mary has a couple things he needs to do tonight. Just a few. There's a few things. So just answer the question. 2 questions. What are you going to do to continue the dream, and what can each of us do to continue the dream with a new level of optimism, enthusiasm, and activation?
That's a test. Okay. First of all, thank all of you for sharing your wisdom, your insight, your commitment. Thank you for being here. Sometimes it's easier to talk, it's harder to listen. But you're soaking it up and you're here because you care about this community. So, you know, it's sort of funny that many of you know I started born in this city, I grew up in the CD, and I don't often spend a lot of time saying what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do. Because I grew up around a lot of people just like to brand their mouth. They just talk. And those who worked with me intimately know that I'm about that action. What can we do? And I don't like conceding power. Because as soon as I say, Keith, what are you going to do for me? I'm conceding my fate in your hands. And I don't like generally doing that. I'd rather say, I want to fly right with Keith. What can we do together? What can we do together right now? What is the power? This collective power in this room right now is pretty phenomenal. And one of the best things I can do as mayor, number one, is hire the right people. Make sure that people that know our community, that look like our community, that are committed to generational success, not just generational wealth. So today was a phenomenal day. We have a cabinet member here, Marcia Fudge, Secretary of Housing, powerful woman. She was the president of the Delta Sigma Theta. She was president of Black Congressional Caucus. She was the mayor. She was a congressperson for 8 years. And her housing policies are spot on because we spent the day talking about generational wealth. And and we're getting a lot of funds in the Biden-Harris administration to make sure we can stay in this community. As you may well, I'm proposing almost $1 billion housing levy, unprecedented, to make sure that we can stay in this community. I'm trying to. We have $250 million in our housing budget that is the highest we've ever had because, quite candidly, if you look at the statistics back in the day, in the 70s, the Central District was 70% African American. Now it's down to 1.5, 15%. So you see, we're not trending in the right way. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be the housing mayor. And in terms of education, the fact of the matter is that education comes in several ways. Some people could write code for Amazon, and that's cool, and Microsoft. Some people are really good with the hands. Some people are good with art and culture. And so whatever your gifts are and how you can be educated in that particular area, I have to build the pathway for you. That's why I passed the industrial lands policy, because I realized a lot of people will not write code for Microsoft or Amazon, and these are some great paying family wage jobs that I want our community to be piped into. So as mayor, all of our policies are designed to promote those who have been have not, I say self-optimized. You know, I try to stay away from terms like underrepresented community or marginalized community because I try to speak into existence that which I believe. If I keep saying you're a marginalized community, you're a marginalized community, guess what? Guess how we start acting like a marginalized community. So if you look at a very granular basis, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make history in this city by being the first mayor that really thought of a way to let the boat rise, because quite frankly, I shouldn't have been mayor. I grew up in the Central District from a mom and dad that didn't go to college. My mother worked at the Fax newspaper.
You earned to be mayor.
The odds were against me coming out of 24th and Olive to do this job. So I have an obligation to make sure that whatever pathway to success I was able to achieve, that I pass it on. So that's what we're about. And I have to say, I want to close by saying I want to thank for many of these fine people right here on this panel, and many of you out there. I couldn't have gotten the job, and I couldn't have had a pathway to get this job without you. You know who you are. You know who you are. So you've been a part of my journey all along. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We actually have one question, please. So we also have a question for the mayor, right? So there's some work that's been happening. I'm sure you've heard of this organization. It's called WEIR. It's Washington Employers for Racial Equity. 80 of the top employers, they committed $2 billion over 5 years to do the work that was aligned with MLK's dream. We're about year 3.5. And so our work as a part of this initiative, as a part of continuing the dream, is going to be to lovingly support what they're doing, to amplify in community what's been happening so that we drive change. So my question to you is, what would you recommend as far as activation for organizations who said a lot of things when George Floyd died, but actually we haven't necessarily seen the manifestation of that?
That's a great question, Tracy. So
thank you. I'm here.
Let me. I have a different take on some of this. I think weirdly sometimes, so bear with me. I'll try to make it short.
Take your time.
So I had dinner a couple of nights ago with two billionaires, and they were. They started companies, these companies are household names in Seattle. I don't want to name their names because that's really irrelevant to the story. And they both were in their latter 80s. They're not young. Of course, the closer I get to that, the more younger I think they are, by the way. They both were 87. They both told me their age. And I had that conversation is what can you do for the black and brown community? What can you do for multi-generational African Americans? By that I define that as people whose grandparents were African American and born here. I said, what can you do for this demographic? And it occurred to me in that conversation that we have to realize that our agenda may not be theirs. That they don't want to get COVID. They don't want to get cancer. They're thinking about their own issues, and even when you are of incredible wealth, their agenda was always to give a high rate of return to the shareholders. That was their agenda. See, we are very affiliative, and because of our history, we think about things like social justice. But they were brutally honest with me, and they said, that wasn't in my thinking. My thinking was, how can we create these organizations here and make a higher rate of return to our shareholders? And make $1 billion in the process, by the way. Self-wealth, okay. I don't knock that. If they want to get $1 billion, that's cool. So in my conversation with people that are of means, I remind them that our country is changing, and the purchasing power of African Americans, as an example, it's argued it could be $50, $60 billion. That when you're looking at the workforce and the talent coming into your work pool, you want to be able to be part of the movement of where our country is heading. It is in your best interest to align yourselves with the same agenda that we want. Now, as mayor, I know what they want. They want effective public safety. They don't want to see our community out here drugged out on fentanyl. They don't want to see that. That's bad for business. Okay. So what I need for them are resources to help me get people treated. So when I talk about what they're going to do for our community, I don't lead with it. Hey, by the way, you owe me for 400 years of discrimination, by the way, brother. Do you know that? You owe me for interning my mother during World War II. I want my retribution for that. I don't lead with that. I'd like to, but I realized that just didn't get me anywhere. It wasn't a successful strategy. So in my conversations with them, I try to see how do I get their interests? Because we all know what we want to see. And if we do that the right way, we can align our agendas and we can get what we need, which is always resources, resources, resources. And I want to put this little plug in on this question, although you didn't ask me this. A lot of times when I'm in community grassroots organizations and talking to community, I ask people this. I'll say, are you in a position to hire anybody? They go, what? Have you ever had hiring authority? No, I'm working for the man right now. I can hire anybody. So that's okay. I says, one reason why I support small businesses so much is because they hire from our community. And that I've been in a position to hire people for decades and decades, and that's one of the best things we can do is put ourselves in a position to be employers. Okay? Change the conversation. So when I talk to these mega companies, I ask, what are you doing to support small black businesses? Okay, that's what we can get from them. So the city will be a strong partner in this work. I'll be a good cheerleader for you. And quite frankly, I know how to get resources out of folks.
So I'm going to just clarify, that was a great answer. Give him a round of applause. I have a quick follow-up. So we're talking about WEIR was founded by Governor Christine Gregoire on the principles, exact principles that we're focused on here. Focus on black business and black wealth, they call it out. They want to focus on black youth. They want to focus on creating economic and intellectual empowerment for black people, literally black Washingtonians. Very clear. So when you have someone clearly articulating the goals, I just want to make sure I'm clear, not like they want something different. We've now said we all want these things. We're interested in what next steps, and maybe we just invite you to future conversations with them about showing up and actually doing those things. I just want to make sure we're clear on the question.
So why are you asking me? Why don't you ask them?
So we are. They don't have to answer me. So we have, by the way. We've actually done a year worth of follow-up. There you go. So they would probably show up for you. They ain't got to show up for me. They don't have to show up for the week, but they kind of got to show up for you. So maybe that's a future conversation. That's the conversation.
I'd love the conversation. So
well, there you go.
with the former governor Gregoire's attention, and I talked to her pretty consistently. I haven't talked about this issue. And what do you say, Ralph?
I said she didn't give us nothing while she was in office.
Yeah. So we'll talk back channel about what we could do to get their follow-up. I think what Tracy's asking is where's the follow-up? So you got marching orders to me.
There you go.
Got it.
Thank you. Mission accomplished. Awareness, action, and accountability. Give them a round of applause, y'all. Thank you so much.
Two quick compliments.
Yes.
This mayor is really solving the problem of homelessness. It's like an almost impossible problem. He doesn't talk a lot about everything he's doing. I have been in settings where I was one of the loudmouths saying something about racism and all of that. But I could also be in settings where I give compliments that the mayor's solving the problem. If you have constructive ideas and you're gonna buy in to help and it's achievable, this mayor will stand up. Second thing, I failed the bar exam first time. I asked this mayor for help. He gave me his notes, I passed the second time. He solved problems, he solved some of mine.
You know, and I want to thank Mayor Harold also. He's always been there for us, the Martin Luther King Commemoration Committee. You know this, Eddie, from the beginning. He's the one who wrote us into the budget 5 years ago when he was on the city council. Thank you, my brother. But in that vein, you know about the Martin Luther King Gandhi Coalition, right? The Empowerment Initiative. That we have the money set aside now. We're going to be training people on computers to make sure that they have direct access to those jobs. So I know that Eddie's going to want to meet with you. I'm going to want to meet with you. Eddie's our chair. 2.3 million. Am I right, Eddie?
Something like that.
Not in the bank.
It's coming to the bank. But in that same vein, I love what he said about education. It's not about just sitting back on your laurels, but about moving forward. In that vein, we're looking forward to the meeting and moving forward. Thank you.
I'm supportive of Bruce myself.
I know y'all don't want me to have too much.
No, don't give it too much, okay? Because he's saying, because he's already on
Yeah,
board.
don't give me too much. How y'all doing? My name's Deontay Damper. I'm a part of the leadership team for Brothers United in Leadership Development, also known as Bill 206.
Thank you.
And when we talk, give it up for Bill. Because when we talk about Dr. King, his dream is us. Reaching out to community members. He talked about the dream that he had, and unfortunately he wasn't able to see that. But he's been able to see, but we've been able to see you community leaders in the space standing, you community leaders here. But you know, one of my dreams that I think about when we talk about community is the inclusivity. You know, a lot of us are still in 1960 with some of our thoughts on inclusivity towards Black community members, especially Black LGBTQIA community members. You think that everything in community, being LGBTQIA in community, that Capitol Hill is giving them all the resources. No, they're not. It's just as racist as any other space in community. And trans and queer community members need organizations like all of your organizations to find a way to educate, protect, and build community. I'm so proud to be a part of Bill 206 because with them, I didn't have to go to Capitol Hill to go find my advocacy and empowerment as a Black man. I went right there in the South end of Seattle, which is where I'm from. And I went to Rainier Beach High School, so sorry, y'all. And when we talk about dreams and community, you know, I think about our dreamers that are out there on 12th and Weller and 12th and Jackson that are impacted, that a lot of us in this room probably drive past because they're in crisis. Because a lot of them have lost lives towards overdose. And I'm proud of the leaders who have been working hard to strive to get community members educated on the impacts of fentanyl and overdose in community. But I challenge everyone here to pick up some Narcan because you also can be able to get some 101 on how to save a life in this community. It is so important that we, as community members, instead of talking down about it, actually show up for it. And I just say that in the name of the community members that I've lost to the fentanyl overdose. So thank you very much.
Did I say that this was about community? This is about each of us. Each of us showing up for each other. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the comments. I'm going to go to one of my favorite people, Bishop Gwendolyn Coates. If y'all did not show up on Friday at MLK Missionary Baptist Church, I think my favorite line from your message was, that ain't right. It just ain't right. Go ahead and tell us what are your thoughts about this?
My name is Bishop Gwendolyn Phillips Coates. I'm the pastor of God Answers Prayer Ministries, the diocesan prelate on the West Coast for Greater Church of Deliverance, which is out of Greensboro, North Carolina. and right now I'm the executive administrator for Progress House Association, which is a work release program for incarcerated individuals. When I think about the dream unfinished, I think about the fear that was cast on the Black community specifically and all of our allies when Dr. King was killed. Because not only Dr. King was killed, Medgar was killed, Malcolm was killed, JFK was killed, Bobby Kennedy was killed, and I was alive during those seasons. And I remember how we felt. I remember the conversations that we had in our house. And so as a woman of faith, when I think about fear, I know that fear and faith cannot reside in the same spot. You're either gonna have one or the other. And when people are afraid to live, they're afraid to move, they're afraid for their lives, they're afraid for their children, they're afraid for their economy, they're afraid for their education, they're afraid for their financial situation, and that fear begins to permeate the parents. That's the trickle-down effect to the children. So our children who are here today, who are high school students and college students, they really don't know a whole lot about Dr. King because those messages have been silenced. When I was growing up in school, we didn't know about Black history. My parents were afraid to tell us about the things that happened to them in Oklahoma when they were growing up, and knowing that they had Choctaw blood, but they were still being penalized and told that they would kill the family if they went to register for Native rights. And so these are the kinds of things that we have to overcome. We have to talk about these things. We can't just have these organizations that are coming to continue to tell us what to do. I'm tired of white folks trying to tell me as a Black woman what I can do, and who I need to be, and how I need to act, and how I need to wear my hair. It's not going to happen. So we have to help our children. And so you want me to tell the folks that what they did to us, that's not right. That's not right. But I have a son who actually was the first executive director for Weir. That's a whole nother conversation. But he wrote a book entitled The Elephant in the Room. And I just want to close out by saying these are some of the things that we need to let our Black and our African American children know. This is from his book, The Elephant in the Room. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. He says, I'm a king, but I'm a queen. I am royalty. I am the offspring of the strongest people this world has ever known. Amen. I am the result of 400 years of oppression, and I still cannot be conquered. I am Black gold. I am the decider of who's and what's cool in this country. I am Africa. I am America. I am a true patriot. I am the present form of the first humans to walk the earth. Amen. I am brilliant. I am the Africans who jumped off slave ships to take their chances with sharks rather than be subject to the chattel slavery system sanctioned by many dishonorable forefathers. I am the slave revolt of Haiti. I am a free man. I am a free woman. I am a free Black woman who speaks her mind. I am the soul of America. I am the culture that the world copies and tries to mimic. I am the Moors who taught your ancestors about medicine, math, science, and astronomy, helping them escape the dark ages. I am Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever walk the earth, a Black king who made silver and gold as common as sand and rocks. I am the peaceful resistance of MLK. I am the armed resistance of Malcolm X. I am the unified strength of the Black Panthers. I am the embodiment of Maya Angelou's prophetic words, and still I rise. I am the entrepreneurial spirit of Black Wall Street and the captivating expression of the Harlem Renaissance. I am the patient warrior heart of Nelson Mandela, who knew that justice would one day come for him, and because of that refused to bow to the apartheid regime of South Africa. I am the melanin that is desired all around the world, but despised by those who don't have it. I am the leader of humankind. I am the ancient people. I am the image of God.
Woo! Yes! Yeah, that's right.
That's an excerpt from The Elephant in the Room, written by my son,
Say his name, say his name.
Philip Sharp Skills Jacobs.
Hello.
In order for us to make a change and finish this dream, we have to teach something to our children.
Amen.
My children read the books that I was reading.
I did too.
I'm getting that unstoppable book for my 8-year-old grandson. I took him to the Wow Gallery, and he began to tell people who Ruby Bridges was and what her story was, my 8-year-old grandchild. And so we've got to replace our fear with faith. My action to King County, to Mayor Harrell, and to all of us who are in this room, let us take an action of prayer. Let's pick one day a week at a certain time, because the Bible says that if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then you will hear from heaven and God will heal the land. This land needs to be healed, and it's going to be healed through our collective prayer. We can reason and we can bargain, but if we don't pray, God will not heal the land. I see Mother Harriet, who is holding this prayer commitment. She has a prayer commitment, and she will pass these out and have you. Yes, we've got to pray for our children, we've got to pray for our world, we've got to pray for our politicians, and we've got to band together. If I know all of you are praying at the same time, I'm going to be looking for a change. God bless you.
Now we have one more introduction of panelists, and then we want more of the community voices to be shared. We're going to, one of my other favorite people, Luis Navarro. Tell us who you are and what are you going to do to continue the dream? Oh, the food. Guys, you can eat now. The food is waiting. So please, those of you.
I am between
the food is available.
food
The food is available.
and so this is now a call for me to speak really quick, and I will. And I'll make it really short. I'm Luis Navarro. I'm the Director of Workforce Development for the Port of Seattle. Prior to that, I was Director of the Office of Social Responsibility. And over the 20 plus years I've been in this city, I've had the pleasure, the blessing of getting to know people like Eddie Rye, our elected officials today, Sharon Tomiko Santos, Mayor Harrell, and others who have so inspired me to do what needs to be done. I am a bureaucrat. I might describe myself being an employee of a public agency tasked with investing the dollars that our commissioners, our elected officials, say should go to certain causes. I am that person who needs to make sure that I follow my elected officials' policies. The mayor and his staff, Sharon Tomiko Santos, Representative Tomiko Santos, and the staff, people like me are the ones that can either make it happen or ignore the orders that have been given to us. I hope and I pray that my work is one that speaks for itself, where I am investing the money where it matters in communities that have been ignored, and in some words, communities that have not received the investments that they need. So I have the privilege and the responsibility to invest the dollars that are authorized for workforce development training in the communities that need that training. Black communities, brown communities, refugee communities, immigrant communities, where it matters. So the results are that those folks that get trained get to participate in what we call family wage jobs and careers, so they can build generational wealth. And I'm hoping I'm doing a good job. If I was not, Hayward and Eddie would call me on it.
You got an award.
Thank you so much. I was recognized for it. So thank you. I'm gonna stop here because we are all hungry.
Guys,
Thank you.
The food is here. No one's being prevented from eating. We are going to continue the conversation for a few more minutes. The food is here. It's being reheated. It is ready for you to eat as we continue this conversation. If you want to speak, we're inviting you to come up and share your voice. Again, what are you going to do to continue? Yes, so you guys can eat as well.
Sister
Please.
Tracy,
Yes.
we can eat, but we haven't been eating.
Would you like to bless the food?
God bless the food, but I didn't come here to eat.
This is Pastor. Would you like to officially
We've been eating too long.
bless the food?
We've been waiting too long.
Would you like to officially
May
bless
God bless the food that we're about to receive for the nourishment of our body. But I am the proud father of the fathers and the children here in Seattle. How about they praise? But I didn't come here to do this. And we give honor to everybody in the room tonight. Seattle, forgive me. I'm a son of Seattle. I'm a son of Maxine Houston and Robert Houston in this city. To my big brother Bruce, I'm so proud of you, man, because you made a difference. And you're making the difference in our community. I buried more than 1,000 children in our community. Purposely, I have more than 1,000 sons that come to Brooks Family Barbershop in this community. Critically thinking, we are missing that point, that our children do need to have critical things in our life to make a difference. While we were busy out making children, we should have been trying to find out who we were ourselves. And now we have a left community, not a lost community, but a left one. Our children have been left behind because we are not raising our children. We are not teaching our children. We're not helping our children. We have these cell phones that have taken place. Now when we talk about economic development, we need to learn how to be self-sufficient. My grandmother and grandfather, all of them, their blood, sweat, and tears, paved the roads of Seattle, from Seattle all the way to Kent. Now when you call on the phone and you look for help, Brother Bruce, you're finding people sending you to Olympia. Not only to Olympia, but to, further out past Olympia? Bellingham. I said, after all of these years, we worked hard to be here in this city. Now we got to move out. But today, when we come together, the dream is I have a dream, you have a dream, but God give us all the ability to fulfill that if we would just come together and make a vow to the Lord and say that, listen, I will not get caught with my work undone. If you know your purpose, do you know your purpose?
Yes.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of people that don't know your purpose. We come here, we talk, we make pretty speeches and get photo ops, but the bottom line, when we leave here, when I show up at the funerals, I don't see nobody, but I see all of our children at the funerals. There's about 300, 400, 500 children at one, and I try to bump heads with each one of them and let them know, I love you. I care about you. You are somebody's child. But what we can really do is take time out to get to thinking about what they're doing. My grandsons came down from Canada the other day, and I'm through.
Thank you. Oh,
No, I'm not through. I'm not through. No, I'm talking about what I'm talking about. If I ever get a chance to get a mic and talk to everybody in the room, listen. Well, you know what? Listen, hold on one second. No. Y'all go ahead and leave.
No, don't do it like that.
No, I'm not going to do it like that. Let me finish talking.
You got 30 seconds if you don't mind.
No problem. When we get to talking about what we need to talk about, this is because of the illusion of inclusion. This is how we get treated one another. Don't tolerate me. I'm here to help us. I've been to the funerals.
You know I love you.
No, I'm talking about what I'm talking about. And our children have died. And so I'm just saying that when we come here and talk, we can eat at home. But when we come in and talk, we just talk about what we're going to do to make a difference in our children's life. You understand? We talk too much.
Thank you.
We talk too long. Time out. When you bury the children, it's time out to talk. When my children have been shot down in the street, what we talking for? Show up.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right.
We got one more speaker, and then we're going to officially take an intermission. We're going to have a video playing, and then we want to hear more of your voices. We're documenting this time. We're creating a documentary. So real quick, and then we're going to, Mayor said it's fine. We're going to let you finish real quick. 90 seconds. And then we're going to keep it moving.
All right, right, well, thank you. Everybody know who I am. I got the.
Wait, microphone? Mic on? Hello? Speak. Hello? Oh, is it on now? Yeah, okay. Hi, well, I did all my talking on the Mother's Justice Show today, so I can be quick. I want to acknowledge people and let people know that we're all doing the best we can. I mean, we're all still struggling right now from oppression. And we're all, I mean, look at us. We're courageous people. We've never given up. I absolutely love us because we're courageous people. We go out every day in a hostile environment, and we continue to go. Do we have some situations we need to work on? Yes, we do. Have we not always been present? But we're doing it. I mean, we're courageous people. We go every day in hostile working environments. And we acknowledge that our children have grown up in a generation of violence. But we've been in this country 18 and a half generations. And out of those 18 and a half generations, most of the violence was against us. Okay, we have to understand that and understand what we have gone through to be here now. Our ancestors decided not to die. They had children here. And so when you look around, you think about how heroic you are, what you got in us. What you got in you is how to rise. And that's all we're talking about. We're gonna rise. We're gonna keep doing that. One way we're gonna rise is we're gonna pray. We're gonna remember that our ancestors prayed. And my grandmother said, we have to pray for the children. Pastor Brooks was correct. Amen. We have to pray for the children. That's why I have these commitment sheets here. Amen. We will commit to pray for the children because the Maasai says how the children, our children are not well. Our house is on fire. But we know how to be the firemen. I was raised in segregation. Never had a white teacher in my life. Never had a new book in my life. So if you see Hidden Figures, that's who I am, okay? But I tell Black history every day. I have a keen sense of knowing who I am. And I understand what happens when children have been assimilated. Our people are assimilated today because they've had teachers who didn't look like them, who didn't love them enough. In segregation, somebody's gonna love you enough to come and tell your grandmama on you. Okay? They're gonna love you enough to make sure you're on the straight and narrow. Amen. And our people are lonely, their souls is lonely because there's nobody loving them. We need to love, we're lonely for the love that we had once, because we came linked together in time. They didn't bring us here as individuals, they brought us here linked together. And so it's if we nourish our soul, and I also have a survey by the Silent War Campaign. I started that years ago around the violence. I mean, you know, and it surveys Black people. And most Black people don't think it can ever end because they've lived too long in it. But again, I've talked over my 30 seconds. I had a show today. I love to talk. My first grade teacher said, Harriet Walden, always talking. My name was always on the board for talking. I have my own talk show so I can talk, as long as I want to. But thank you very much. I want to thank that mayor over there, okay? All right, all right, I've got my eye on you. I'm in people. I'm part of the people in the middle. You know, the middle of the road people, but the moderates, the people who really wants to change, voted for you, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. You can say it. So food is still available, y'all. We got 30 seconds. We're going to ask our panelists, grab your food. We're going to ask each of them to say, with 30 seconds, start your statement with join us. And then say, why should people join us as we continue the dream? On the screen, what you all see is a bit.ly. It's called MLK_continuing the dream. We're asking you to share your voice. So real quick, why should people join us?
People should join us because there is work to be done, and I believe we need to stay focused on the work and to, you know, just keep people aware and keep moving forward. I like what the mayor said, is to don't focus on the past. Don't let the trauma stop us from moving forward. So moving forward because there are better days ahead and better things and greater things for us.
You should join us because working together, we're going to get the work done. Find 3 things to join and help over this coming year. and follow through in helping others do something to continue this movement, but also do 3 things yourself for what you can control. Make a decision that you're going to act, and you're going to join others who are acting. We got to do it together.
Join us because you have something to contribute. Join us because you are who our ancestors have been waiting for. Join us because you are who your great, great, great grandbabies are counting on.
Join us because we are the people that can respond and support elected officials like our representative Sharon Tomiko Santos and our mayor, who are trying to do what they need to do as an elected official, but they need you and they need me to carry on their important work and their mandate. So I just want to thank them and encourage you to join the forces that will make their work a reality.
Join us.
Why did you?
I can have fun because I've had a long day. Join us because we are proven commodities, that we have a North Star, and our North Star is always centered around faith and love. And a quick shout out to Carissa Braxton and Gerald Hengerson, a part of my cabinet, part of my team, because like everyone up here, they are proven commodities dedicated to our community, and I'm very proud for them to be part of our team.
So y'all, join us because your voice matters. Join us because change and the dream really is possible. Thank you all so much for joining us. Continue to achieve the dream. We got this. Thank you.